In October of 1859, John Brown raided Harper's Ferry in an attempt to bring slaves to freedom. Although many believe John Brown was a terrorist, he took many responsibilities to help gain rights for African Americans and should thus be remembered as a martyr. October 16th, a prelude. The raid begins. On October 16th, at 8 p.m., Brown and 18 of his men advanced towards Harper's Ferry. At 10:30 p.m., Brown and the raiders take over the U.S. Armory, Arsenal, and both bridges. At 12 a.m., Lewis Washington and John Alstad are taken hostage and his slaves are freed. These initial actions on the night of October 16th laid the groundwork for the drama that would play out on the 17th. October 17th. At 1:25 a.m., an express train heading towards Harper's Ferry was fired on twice by the raiders, and one slave was killed. From 4 a.m. until daylight, hostages were being held in the armory, and messengers spread the word of the raid. By daylight, word was spread throughout Harper's Ferry and nearby towns that a slave revolt was underway. At 7 a.m., townspeople began to fire on the raiders, and groceryman Thomas Borley was shot and killed. At 10 a.m., Harper's Ferry militia cuts off the raiders' escape routes. Dangerfield Newby, a raider, is shot, and William Thompson, a raider, is captured under a white flag requesting a truce. Dangerfield Newby is the first raider to die. Apparently nothing came from this truce because raiders Watson Brown and Aaron Stevens are shot while requesting a second truce at 12 p.m. At 1 p.m., raider William Lehman is killed as he attempts an escape across the Potomac. By midday on the 17th, the tide had turned as the deaths to the raiders began to mount. At 2 p.m., the mayor of Harper's Ferry, Fontaine Beckham, is shot and killed as he ventures, unarmed, too close to the fighting. Enraged citizens stormed the rifle works. At 3 p.m., most of the hostages are freed by the militia. From dark until 7 p.m., militiamen and townspeople jam the streets of Harper's Ferry, and several of the remaining raiders escape. At 11 p.m., Robert E. Lee and an army of 90 Marines arrive by train from Washington, D.C. At this time, Brown and his small remaining band of raiders are holed up in the engine house. October 18th. At 7 a.m., Brown refuses to surrender and is captured by Lee. Raiders are killed, and on the following day, Watson Brown, his son, is killed, but no hostages are injured. 17 people were killed in the raid: a slaveholder, a Marine, 2 slaves, 3 townspeople, and 10 of Brown's men. Impact on the abolitionist movement. Outrage in the South and fear of future slave insurrections led Southern states to strengthen their militias, which had the ultimate effect on preparing the South for the Civil War. In the North, initial reaction ranged from admiration among abolitionists, and they sensed that the raid was insane with no chance of succeeding. John Brown survived the raid and went to trial, which gave him the opportunity to explain his motivations about the raid. In his opinion, John Brown was answering to a higher authority than the rule of law. Brown maintained that a law that allowed one man to enslave another was not worthy of obeying. After his trial and execution, John Brown began to be viewed as a martyr in the North. In the North, church bells rang and sermons were delivered in commemoration of Brown's execution. This declared him as a martyr for justice and freedom, which further horrified people in the South. Clearly, Brown's actions at Harper's Ferry resulted in bringing awareness and sympathy for the abolitionist movement. There was no hope of compromise between the North and the South. Was John Brown a martyr or a terrorist? So what is a terrorist act? They're sudden, dramatic, violent, illegal, and incite fear. They are sudden. Few could have predicted it. They're dramatic. It was an armed capture of an armory. They are violent. There were many deaths. They are illegal. It was an armed insurrection. And incited fear? What could be more fearful to a southern town than a band of armed abolitionists. So then, was John Brown a martyr? Brown was raised to see life as a struggle against sin, and he viewed slavery as an ultimate sin. His childhood home was a stop on the Underground Railroad, and he was taught to be an ardent abolitionist. Through 1830 and 1840, John Brown raised his family to embrace opportunity to break the power of slavery. In 1856, Brown and his sons engaged in an armed struggle to Kansas on behalf of Kansas anti-slavery forces, where they led a group that killed 5 pro-slavery men. This event sparked great controversy throughout the country. It was now clear that he was prepared to commit wrongdoing to bring about an end to a greater wrong, slavery. The Harper's Ferry raid was clearly destined to end in tragedy for the raiders. It stood no practical chance of success. It may have been his intention all along not to trigger a slave insurrection, but to be defeated and thus sacrifice himself to the cause. In this way, John Brown seems to have exhibited a trait of martyrdom. Brown and Thoreau believe that it is noble and right to act according to one's principles, even if such actions appear to be against the law. John Brown lived a life consistent with his belief in the rights of African Americans. He was prepared to give his life for what he believed in, and he ultimately did. Even though some people believed that what he did was a terrorist act, it is the responsibilities he took that helped to shape America to be what it is today.